I got a phenomenal interview coming up right now. I got a great guy, a phenomenal brother, Dr. Brian Chad Starks. How you doing, sir?
I'm well. Appreciate you having me.
Hey, it's all good. It's all pleasure. I mean, I'm still tripping off East right now. You know?
Hey, I told you those years back. You know, hey, those childhood loyalties right there. Childhood loyalties.
Yeah, we go all the way back to the forest. Bonnie Forest is the neighborhood.
Now, my brother, I see the PhD, I see the doctorate, I see, man, you got a lot of things going on, man. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on with Mr. Starks.
Oh, well, fortunate enough to get an education in this country as an African-American male. That's one thing I really want to present to your listeners tonight, how fortunate I know that my process has been to earn these degrees that I've been afforded.
All right.
I started off, I have a bachelor's degree in sociology from Walker College in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I have a master's degree in criminal justice from the University of South Carolina. I have a master's certificate in alcohol and drug studies from the University of South Carolina. And I have a PhD in criminology from the University of Delaware.
Go ahead.
And currently, I'm an assistant professor at Delaware State University in the sociology and criminal justice department.
Man, I'm trying.
But I've done.
Boy, that's. I'm trying to find out when did you start school? I mean, you started earning these when you turned about 16.
On the real, I think I added it up, and I think the last time, like after high school, no, including high school, it's been like 22 years of education.
Man, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, and 22 years.
And this is one of the realest brothers you gonna ever meet. This brother, he is just real.
Hey,
I appreciate it,
Doctor. Listen, man, you don't mind me call you Doctor, do you?
please, brother, please.
I mean, I'm trying to give a lot of respect. I don't want to call you by your first name, Mr. Chad. I just call you Doctor. Doctor.
That'll work.
I was fortunate to run into a kid today, man. He was 19 years old, and the kid told me he dropped out of school when he was in the 10th grade. Man, you know, he just quit, dropped school, and the whole nine. Didn't finish it all, man. Didn't get his GED or whatever the case may be, and it kind of moved me, you know. And I like I said, I noticed that you got all these degrees and whatnot, and it kind of like dawned onto me just this one moment. And I asked him, I talked to him, I said, so you think you're ready for the real world? I mean, because a lot of our younger folks these days, they thinking, you know, because sometimes when the parents don't have money to do certain things, or they struggling with the bills and things like that, they think they need to go out and start working. But they don't understand, they going into a world that they ain't quite ready for. And I was trying to give them, you know, a little bit of love about that, you know what I'm saying, from my standpoint of, you know, as being a role model and a parent as well. So that's what's going on, man. I just want to throw that in real quick because you got so much going on, man. You know, what made you want to do so much schooling, man?
Well, if I can, I'm going to comment on the young brother you ran into.
Okay. And
try to put it in some general terms. I'm assuming this brother was an African-American male?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm going to say delayed gratification. Right. I'm a 70s baby. Graduated high school in the 90s. And one thing that I think we got in our childhood, because we were so close to civil rights, was this term called delayed gratification. And I think it was something that my parents, my mother in particular, and I know my grandparents, they really stressed waiting on your turn. They used to always tell me, Chad, be a child as long as you can, because being an adult, you're going to do for much longer time. Right. And with that came a conversation about resources and opportunities. And when it was time for me to go to school, that was my job. I was 7, 8, 9, 10, didn't have much in the house, but my mother told me my contribution to the family was getting good grades in school. So I believe that in the last 20 or 30 years, some of us, which I'm a parent now also, I believe that some of those messages about what the responsibilities of a child are have been, you know, kind of displaced in our community and in our family. And some of them are having to grow up much faster than what I had to grow up. And I believe that's putting them in a very tough situation, choosing between immediate gratification of financial funds, resources, or choosing an education that's going to afford them success further down the line. So I want to address that with coupling in with some of my familiar experiences and saying, my parents, my grandparents, my mom really stressed being a child, waiting your turn, and really expressing to me my responsibility was going to school and getting good grades.
Oh, that's a blessing.
Now,
I noticed how the adjustment of that voice got there, you know. You kind of threw each off a little bit, you know.
I mean, I'm going to start in the community where we from, you know. Cracking the streets in 84. And if you was born in a situation where resources were not in abundance, then you were sometimes forced in a situation of which delayed gratification or immediate gratification you were going to take. And I saw around me, in my house, outside of my house, in my community, my school, my neighborhood, in the newspapers, in the city, and other states around the country, that African American men were choosing different lifestyles that were not going to afford them delayed gratification. And oftentimes that those lifestyles had a lot to do with illegal options. And if you come from communities where the schools are bad, unemployment is very high, bad health care, and if you take those three variables, those three characteristics, you put them anywhere in any country, any state, it doesn't matter what identity you have, what ethnicity you are, what gender you are, most often people are naturally trained to survive. Right. And oftentimes that means they're going to engage in illegal activity. I saw this in an abundance in my vision. Right. And I wanted to do something about it. And I was fortunate enough to be in gifted and talented classes from the fourth grade on. And I saw a different opportunity in people that I had interactions with, like my school teachers, like my sports coaches. They would often say to me, hey, I really think that you got a chance, you got a shot. Right. So not only did I get it from home, but I got it from, some of those agents that we interact with in our schools.
I got you.
And I know that had a great deal of impact on me when people telling me that, hey, you can go to college. So I kind of use sports. And like I said, I was blessed with some academic ability to put me in a situation to earn a scholarship. And the rest is kind of history.
That's what's up.
But you know what? Because I know you, and then I know, a lot of us that we all grew up around and different things, you had that just determinology to just keep moving forward, and you always encourage us to go back to school, go back to school. You would always tell us as kids or as we were being young adults and we wanted to party and have fun, you would encourage us to even stay in school. And even when people was hating on you on your success, and you know that we know, so even when people was hating on you, you still, kept going and moving forward. And for a black male, that's deep, because a lot of us, even if we do go, a lot of men, if they go and get their bachelor's, they don't want to go back, and even male and female, even when they get a master's, it's like school, it's too much schooling for them. And so, you did it. You did it.
And we just getting started.
Through. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, but we just getting started. So.
Because even with my kids, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Because even with my daughters and stuff, with my baby in college who's about to graduate, your daughter, Chad, I need you to write a letter of recommendation. Bam, he was on it. No problem. Talk to him. Make sure you stay in school. Encourage them and stuff. Push them on for every graduation and stuff. We went to his hoodie. I was like, that's the best. That was the best. And our children need to see that. And, I like the way you keep giving back, too, because you're always working with the youth.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, you want to talk about some of the programs with the young people that you work with?
Well, we can talk about a couple things that I've done. We can go back to the early 90s, some work that I did in the state of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. I believe it's around the topic that we're going to discuss tonight around marijuana.
All right.
Yes.
It was more It was more about drugs.
Okay.
When I was working on my master's degree at the University of South Carolina, I did an internship with the adult drug court. And it was the second one, I believe, in the state of South Carolina at the time. It was a program that was started in Escambia County in Florida. And it was, I believe, maybe 10 years after the war on drugs was really implemented into the United States criminal justice policy.
Okay.
And they had an overflow of arrestees that were alcohol and drug related.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't accuse everyone of being a kingpin, and they couldn't accuse everyone of being, possessing with intent to distribute. A number of these people had issues, and I mean issues around addictions for alcohol and drugs. So the treatment side, rehabilitation side, and the criminal justice side got together and did some research and said, well, why don't we take these folks that have alcohol and drug issues that also have criminal justice problems, just give them a second chance, take them through the criminal justice system, but give them a chance to go through what was called drug court, which is still prevalent today, which would take them through some rehabilitation and some treatment, and if they complete it, then their charges would be exonerated, because they recognize that alcohol and drug addictions aren't a criminal justice issue, they're a disease. These people needed help. That locking them up is not going to suffice. So I did research on how many alcohol and drug related crimes are actually being done in 3 counties in the state of South Carolina. Solicitor Barney Gazay at the time, they loved the research, so they decided to start the first juvenile drug court for the state of South Carolina. And I was the first coordinator for it. So that was like the first project that I did. So I got a lot of young men and women that came through that were arrested that had alcohol and drug issues. Instead of locking them up in the Department of Juvenile Justice in the state of South Carolina, we put them through the alcohol and drug abuse treatment program, and the criminal justice side and the rehab side work together in order to give these kids a second chance on life. Do you want me to just keep numbering them off the top, or you have some questions in between, I used to know I can just talk, but I don't know if you got some questions in between,
The marijuana,
okay.
we know it's getting ready to take a toll. Some things getting ready to happen in the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit more about what information you got about that.
So should we start with the criminal component, because I am a criminologist? Is that where we start?
That's fine.
Yeah, let's start with the criminal part.
Okay. Criminal part. That is fine. Legalizing marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm just repeating myself again. Legalizing marijuana. There's a couple different issues with this topic that has plagued us for centuries.
Right.
And I think we should start off about the conversation about behaviors that everyone likes to participate in, right? So, all drugs were legal at one time, and they were used recreationally, very openly, and it was socially accepted for centuries. It wasn't until 1914 where drugs actually became illegal by our federal government in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And these behaviors that we have affiliated with drug use are behaviors that majority of the people agree with in the United States. And I'm going to say that again. These behaviors that we affiliate with drug use, a majority of the people in the United States agree with. Like most, I'm not going to say most, I'm sorry. A number of people believe in using drugs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Most often when we hear it, though, we only think of illicit drugs, and what I mean is illegal drugs.
Right.
The conversation most often is not usually expanded to how long we have been using prescription drugs. Cocaine, for instance, was the main ingredient. I know most of us have heard this, but in the soda Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
Cocaine was the main ingredient in Novocaine, which is used for pain relief when you go to the dentist's office.
Right.
So marijuana was historically used for migraine headache, treatment of menstrual cramps for women. Any type of chronic pain, marijuana was smoked to alleviate and relieve some of those issues. Heroin, methadone. Drugs have been around and will always be around forever. So I just really wanted to have that conversation about this deviant act that everyone likes to talk about in such a derogatory way. It's very deviant, but it's very interesting to me how it's a behavior that most of us participate in. Whether you're giving your child Tylenol cold and flu, whether you're taking an aspirin, anything that you put in your body that is mood or mind altering, it's a drug.
Right.
We can ingest tobacco, we can dip, we can chew tobacco, not the biggest concern. We can drink caffeine, we can get hooked on soda, we can get hooked on coffee, not the biggest concern. Even alcohol, knowing it causes all the alcohol-related deaths, it causes much more money for medicinal purposes, with us having to take care of those, and cirrhosis of the liver, is much more of a higher financial cost on us than any other drugs that are illegal now.
Mm-hmm.
These are behaviors that most of us want to participate in. I believe that's where we need to start the conversation before we get into the criminal component. So, now in the criminal component, in 1951 was the first time that marijuana was said to be illegal for possession or even be harmful to anyone. Where legislation thought that they should come in and draw the line in the sand and say this is no longer going to be tolerated. Now, let's talk about how this has been used in certain communities to target certain groups after these laws are passed. As a criminologist, I sit here and I see of every 100,000 black men, 482 compared to 36 white men are disproportionately represented in the criminal justice system for drug offenses. I say that again. 482 black men compared to 36 out of every 100,000 is incarcerated for the use of drugs in this country. That's what we talk about in the field called disproportionate representation. So if you look at those numbers just in layman's terms, are you saying that minorities use drugs more than white people?
No, because we know that's not to be true.
So it gets a little confusing if you only take those numbers at face value and do a comparison based off those numbers.
Right.
But I believe it looks much worse when you look at percentages, especially for blacks. Blacks make up 13% of the population, but they make up 16% of the prison population.
Right.
And most of that population are nonviolent offenders on drug offenses. I'm going to give you a couple more statistics, just one more statistic just on marijuana in itself. In 2012, 1.5 million people were arrested for nonviolent drug charges. In particular, 749,825 were arrested for marijuana law violations. Out of that 1.5 million, 658,231 were arrested for possession of marijuana. Not selling. We're talking about an amount for a person to use in their own recreation or even medicinal purposes at their own discretion. So would you like to get into a conversation of how this impacts people after the arrest? Because I think it gets confusing to society whenever we say that person was arrested for drugs.
Yeah.
And I don't think we understand some of those social costs and some of those ramifications to being arrested for possession of marijuana.
Oh yeah, it's real deep. It's real deep. All right, let's go back in and finish our conversation. We was, I think we was going to go in, talk a little bit more about the schooling side of what we was talking about the marijuana.
Yes, I was watching Marijuana USA. It was on the History Channel, and they were showing all of these different cannabis academies, these different schools, whereas they're opening up a number of schools, even in states that haven't even legalized marijuana yet. And with that, you can go to these schools and get certificates in how to grow marijuana, how to cook marijuana, in different recipes, how to use it for medicinal reasons, because studies is showing one of the schools actually was put down. They were saying, don't wait for legalization to change the laws in your state. Be a part of the movement today. research shows that 14 more states will legalize marijuana for recreational adult use in the next 5 years, creating a $10.2 billion cannabis market by 2018. This means marijuana will find its way to your town sooner than we think. My biggest concern is with that, with the young people who sell it illegally. Well, yeah, illegally.
That's right.
And so my thing is, which is majority, our young African American boys and stuff. My thing is, if these young men don't try to go to school and get licensed or do it the right way legally, I'm afraid that a lot of them still are going to get caught up and wind up being arrested and still kind of get treated like they're already being treated. What do you think on that? What's your intake?
Interesting. And they got marijuana schools?
Yes.
So they just bypass legislation, They don't even wait for their state to say you can apply for a license,
No, they saying do it now, because by the time the state legalizes, they're saying you're going to already have your certificate, you're going to already be licensed. All you have to do is go ahead and start filing the paperwork and open up your store.
They say in the next 5 years, this is going down.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay. Currently, we got 20 states, right, including the District of Columbia, that have legalized medical marijuana.
Right.
Currently, you have 16 states with pending legislation for the medicinal use of marijuana.
Right.
Which includes South Carolina and North Carolina. Just to let you know. Just to let you know. Now, this is a much more simplistic conversation. Just marijuana food. To earn certificates, to sell the product, to grow the product, to distribute the product.
Wow.
Now, you're telling me that they're going to open these schools and financially make the cost available for young African American men to financially profit legally off this drug? I'm just saying, I've done a little bit of research, and I got a couple degrees, but that sounds a little too, as we say in the South, right, that's too much like rice.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And based on that comment, I've done a little research about the state of Colorado, and in particular the city of Denver. And I was doing some research, and I noticed that it cost this gentleman between $15,000 and $20,000 just for city and state applications, licensing fees, inspection. This is the money that he has to start off with just to apply. And there is no guarantee that you're going to receive these licenses just because you apply. There's a certain criteria that has to be approved before you get the license. So the first thing that I say, I start looking at socioeconomic status when you start throwing around these numbers. Then you start looking at privilege and power. So if I have the money to apply for the license, I still have to go through another loophole for someone else to make the decision of approval. Now, do you think that most of the people that have been affected by the ramifications of marijuana being illegal have the resources to attend these marijuana schools?
But that's going to be something else right there.
Yes.
So I don't want your listeners to get confused when they hear marijuana school and they start thinking young African American men with poor school systems, with high unemployment issues, with poverty issues, that here's a way out.
No, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a situation where you can't have no felonies and things of that sort, even to go to the school or even get a degree or a license. So
I believe. So we already started now putting a lot of minorities behind the 8 ball when we start talking about checking the box for criminal records.
There you go. There you go.
So let's think about these. Making this marijuana legal for these purposes from the perspective of financial benefit. I don't think that's for all my. I don't. I think that this has been circumvented in a way as a result of the recession that we experienced. And I believe a number of the states were looking for different ways to increase revenue. And of course, can't do much more with incarcerating people because the prison industrial complex is making enough money off the back of those that are laying in those beds every day.
Yeah.
So a viable option was looking at a way to either decriminalize or legalize marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I mean much more specifically. I've done some research in the city of Philadelphia.
Okay.
And I'm sitting in the courtroom watching bail decisions being made. And anyone that gets arrested for 30 grams or less of marijuana, which is a little more, 2 more grams than an ounce, right?
Right.
They consider that what was called a SAM, which would be a small amount of marijuana. Now, the district attorney in the city of Philadelphia says that his jails, his courts are backlogged with simple possession of marijuana charges, and he wants to alleviate his employees of such small criminal issues.
Mm-hmm.
So he decided that anyone in the city of Philadelphia that gets arrested for 30 grams or less, he's going to put them in a program, charge them $429. They go watch 2 videos on marijuana, and then they're going to clean their record. So they're making $430 off every person that walks in there that was smoking a joint, 2.5, smoking a bong, smoking a blunt, riding with it at a traffic stop. They're making $429 per person.
Wow.
Doesn't that sound like a good incentive to decriminalize? And I want your listeners to know, like, making marijuana legal for medicinal purposes is to treat cancer, help with nausea or chronic pain, chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
Legalizing marijuana for recreational use is saying anybody can use it without having a medicinal license.
Right.
That's not what we see. That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing a limited conversation around the recreational use. And there's only 2 states that have made it legal, and that's Colorado and Washington. Even California denied it being used for recreational use. Mm-hmm. So they're keeping it very streamlined, almost like prescription pill-like. So that's going to limit those that have the resources to open up a growing store. That's going to limit the resources of those that are open up a dispensary.
Right.
The gentleman that I was talking about, he was first licensed in Colorado as a medicinal distributor. And the policymakers said, well, it was easy to convert the law to recreational use and continue to use those distributors that were already the medicinal distributors because they were already in compliance with the strict regulations of marijuana.
That's what's up.
So this thing is another structural conversation that I would say where it has to be those that are affluent already, that already have access to resources, that are going to financially profit from this, because it takes a lot of money for these states to even grant you an application, let alone open the store, grow it, get with vendors, get dispensers, pay for the chemicals that it takes to grow this expensive marijuana that they're discussing. So please be very careful about how that conversation is happening.
Oh, believe me, you'll be back online before we do that. Because me and Boy, we're going to hit the streets. We're going to have all the guys on the corners. Hey, you got that tune-in app at 10 o'clock. Put that tune-in app on.
Right, and I want you to know, they say they were selling like $50 to $60 for like for 3 grams.
Right.
In the first day, that's what it was costing them.
Mm-hmm.
They made $1 million in the first day.
Wow.
First day.
$1 million in sales, selling $60 worth of drugs.
But
in one day.
That got me all messed up. I'm thinking about what is a gram. I mean, I got to get a scale out, put a little baking soda on it, and And I'm confused over here. I'm like, and he making money off of something I don't even know nothing about. I mean, it's a gram. You know, how many feet is that? You know.
hey, Bob saying if you're gonna do it, learn it first.
I know
that's
right.
the rule. If you're gonna do it, learn it first.
Yeah, because I was getting ready to ask you. You were saying that you was saying in so many words that this is going to be not a special marijuana, but you were saying how to grow these seeds versus what's on the street. So it's a totally different marijuana.
This is going to be, yeah. I mean, if you're going to go in a store and pay for marijuana, you're going to have options of high grade or medium grade, or they're going to make it well worth your while.
Oh yeah. I actually
I wasn't aware of that, and I guess that's what the schools are for.
From California, from California standpoint of it, I actually got I ran across a few of them. One of my partners, he had a prescription, and man, I'm telling you, we went into the spot and they had every flavor you name. This was several years ago. You know what I'm saying? So I know it was going on back then, so I know what level it's on now. You know, it was a legitimate place. You know.
And let me bring this to your listeners. You know, United States is late, right? We're late with this conversation. There's been a weed menu in Holland and Amsterdam for the longest.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I got a big brother who played basketball over there for a while who sent one back. Like, look what's going on in other parts of the country. Because, the United States is so taboo about certain topics. Mm-hmm. But you've been able to walk in Amsterdam for years over there and just, for recreational purposes.
Yeah, everything is what.
But, we have to make each other afraid of each other, so you don't allow for stupid conversations, because that means we can think on our own and interact with us and must be much more united. Imagine if we were more united.
I got you.
So, well, Chad, I tell you what, I truly, truly appreciate you coming on with us, and we're gonna start doing what, a weekly segment?
Chad, brother, man,
yes sir,
doctor, professional, aka PhD.
Yeah,
but yeah, we talked about it, and I'm thinking we definitely gonna work some things out, man. Our listeners, man, and our people here at WGIV and all our resource family, we need that type of information. A lot of us don't know that, so if we can get a segment going on through our show, the Jock and King Bar show, I think it would be definitely appreciated.
I would love to be a part of it.
So let's make that happen. We'll make that happen, and we definitely get back in contact with you this week or probably tomorrow if ASAP, because King Bar will be back tonight sometime. So, and it's all love. So anyway, we thank you, man. We appreciate you, man, giving us your time and giving us the information about, all these topics that we talked about tonight.
Thank you for having me on. Outside to all your listeners, I want to say hello to the folks in Columbia, South Carolina. Say hello to my daughter, Brianna. I love you. And, hey, folks, keep your head up and keep fighting.